Good afternoon. This is a Devar Torah on Parshas Behar-Bechukosai. The last two Parshas in Sefer Vayikra. In many years, they are read together. Uh, and I'd first like to give a brief overview of the two Parshas. And one question, of course, is why are they connected? How are they connected? And it says Hashem spoke to Moshe at Sinai. Why Sinai? I mentioned Sinai is a whole discussion in itself beyond the scope of the Torah. In any event, he then brings the laws of the Shemitah, sabbatical year, that every 7 years, for 6 years you work your field, your vineyard, seventh year you take a rest, you don't harvest it, you gather the grapes. It's a Shabbat for the land. And then says you should count 7 times, 7 sets of sabbatical years, 7 times 7 years, which adds up to, then says it's added up to 49. And then it says on the 50th year, you'll have a what's called a Yovel year, Jubilee in English, and it goes into all the laws about that. Now, then it goes on redemption of various types of redemption of land, slaves, helping others, the slaves of Gentiles, and it ends after all of this. It tells you not to make false gods, do not raise up a stone, do not place a kneeling stone in your land, so you can prostrate yourselves. I am Hashem your God. Keep my Sabbaths and respect my sanctuary, which is dwelling place. Now, then it goes on in Parashat Behar-Bechukosai to say what the rewards will be if you follow Hashem's ways. And it gives many, many meanings to it. The Orachaim gives 42 explanations. I'm going to from one of the Pesach, I'm going to give you one of them, the 42, and it goes on to all the blessings. Now, if you look, the blessings here extend 40, extend for only about 11 Pesukim. Yet, the cursors are going to go on for a substantial amount of time. And after all that, Parsha ends with redemption. If you dedicate something to the temple, how you can redeem it. And eventually it promises that we will be returned. And then it talks about, as I said, redemption of land and animals. And so there's a promise of redemption. Now, what is going on here? First of all, the redemption, the whole purpose of Shemitah, I'm going to get into in a minute, but we look, why is there a redemption? Afterwards, that's after we go to exile to another land and we turn to our ways with Shem. Now, if you look at the transition between the two parshas, we see something very interesting. The first parsha is telling us Bahar how to live primarily, with how to relate to Hashem, how to relate to our fellow Jews, and how to live a proper life. Because one of the purposes of the sabbatical year was not only to allow everybody to share in the beneficence of the land, but it was a Sabbath for the land where we could focus on Hashem, learn His Torah, and truly focus on Him. And the same with the Yovel land where Jewish slaves were freed, and many other things. The 50th year. Now, that shows what could have happened in the First Temple era. If we had done that, any one of the Shoftim, David Amelech, many of the successor descending kings could have become Mashiach, and there would have been a final redemption. And the Parsha is also saying what kind of rewards we're going to get. It goes into great depth. It's reward in this world, the next world, and then just all the warnings of what happens if we don't. That mirrors, this here, we have another set of admonitions in later on in Ki Tavo. Interestingly enough, not too long before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. In any event, those are talking about the Second Temple era. This one's the First Temple era. Now, in way of introduction, the topic I want to speak about, it says we were in the land for 490 years, which if you look at it, 70 times 7 comes up to 490, which means there were 70 sabbatical years. And because we didn't keep the land, we went into exile so that the land could get its rest. Now, what is truly going on here? We're looking at something else. We're looking at how are we supposed to, we say we were exiled in the First Temple because of crimes against God. We worshipped idols, committed sexual immorality, to a lesser extent, murdered a fellow Jew, all terrible things, but there was a fourth reason given. The fourth reason that was given was that we did not keep the sabbatical year. Now, does that mean in the whole 490 years we never let the land lie fallow? It's talking about sort of 4-month fundamental. We didn't use time to learn Torah and all the people to get closer to Hashem. A year where we didn't have distractions. He gave us enough abundance that we had enough till the 8th year crops came in. Same with sabbatical. It was 3 years, 1 year set of crops provided for 3 years, 7th, 8th, and 9th year. Now, by not doing so, we did not fulfill our covenant with Hashem, did not get close to Him. And that is the fourth reason. We were exiled in the First Temple. But once the land life had its years, we came back. Now, how are we supposed to live according to it? It says something very interesting. It gives what seem technical instructions, but it says there's something more profound going on here. It says, when it's talking about the Yovel year, the 50th year, and the wording is very interesting. What it says is, and I'm quoting the Pasuk 8, beginning of Parashat Behar, Yisafro Laka Sheva Shabbatot Shanim Sheva Shanim Sheva Paimim Ulaka Yemei Shavuos Shabbatot Shnei Shanim Teisha Arba'im Shana. You shall count 7 sabbatical years. That is 7 times 7 years. The period of the 7 sabbatical cycles should be 49 years. Now, the Chumash is not teaching us arithmetic. We hopefully learned that elsewhere. So what is it teaching us here? And I'm going to give an explanation that nothing in the Chumash is superfluous, yet we could calculate ourselves. We know each sabbatical year is 7 years. 7 times 7 is 49. Why does it have to tell us 49th year? And it's coming to teach us something far more profound and far more fundamental. And this part of my Devar Torah is based on the works of Rav Shlomo Eliashav, the famed Leshem master of the Deeper Torah. And it's also Rav Bachai, um, who was a Rishon. And it also is based on the teachings the Arizal, among other commentaries. So, what is this 49 coming to teach us? According to Rabbeinu Bachya, 49, each year represents 1,000 years. That's what we say each year. 1,000 years is like a day in the life of Shem. He was saying each year is like 1,000 years. And so you have 7 sabbatical. Each sabbatical, the 7th year is 7,000 years. 7 times 7 is 49,000. So why is this 49 coming to teach us? Very important thing, that the whole of creation is going to happen or has happened 7 times. And in the 50th thousandth year, there'll be the final Yavel, the ultimate completion of Hashem's world, universe. And that is the opinion of Rabbeinu Bachya, Rav Shlomo Eliashav, the Leshem, explains this in fair and substantial detail, also brings other opinions which seem to back up this. So the question is, if there are 7 cycles of creation of the universe and its involvement, then where do we fit into the plan? Which one of these cycles are, according to one opinion, and some opinions quoted by the Leshem, with the first and second, in other words, the year 7, heading for the year 7,000, year 14,000. A number of opinions say we're in the 4th cycle. Some even say this is the final cycle. Now, the Arizal disagrees with this opinion and says there is only one physical cycle. We are it. That still leaves the question, what do you do with the superfluous 49? And it seems, even according to that other Shita opinion, it's also talking about 49,000. But which 49,000? We said there's only one physical creation. And what is explained, and it says, and as a little background, it says that the Torah was given in the 1,000th generation. Now, there's a little conceptual problem with that. From Adam Rishon to Moshe, when the Torah was received, it only said 26 generations. There's 974 generations missing. What is explained is these 974 generations represent earlier creations, whether they were physical or spiritual is a discussion and a whole discussion in itself. But either way, it was 49,000 years. And these previous worlds were not up to the level to accept, according to many opinions, not up to the level to receive the Torah. And we had they were all created, destroyed. Now that would fit nicely. Where's the first 42,000 years? the first 42,000 years were pre-creation, and what that means exactly, whether it's spiritual or physical, is a whole other discussion. And therefore, it still fits. So either way, either we are the ultimate creation, according to that opinion, and uh, who was supposed to eliminate the last evil was the other pre-existences, whether it's spiritual, physical, ended up in evil. So what happens if Adam Rishon hadn't eaten the famous piece of fruit in the sixth day? Uh, that would have been Adam on the first Shabbat when we still lived in Garden Eden would have to do do one act, and the last evil would have been abolished. Now, so that's also contained in a deeper level in this pasuk. So, what would have happened if Adam hadn't eaten from the fruit? And what would have happened? What will happen after redemption comes? What we will ultimately get is to the add-on level of Adam and Chava before the Chet. Now, the Orachaim, this ties into Moshe's and this ties in nicely to the Parashat Behar-Bechukosai. There are 49 explanations he gives at the beginning of Parashat Behar-Bechukosai. Bekushay lekeku el mitzasai tishamri. Shamri says them osam. If you follow my laws and you're going to keep my commandments, then goes on to describe now the Orachaim in discussing this comes up with 42 explanations of what this means. I'm just going to briefly quote one, and it ties into this concept of what would have happened if Adam hadn't committed the sin, and what's going to happen after the Messianic era when we get to the year 6,000 and beyond, which is discussed in great detail by both the Lesson and the Ramchal. And when it says we walk in Hashem's way, what is it talking about? And when Hashem created Adam Rishon in this world, he did not create him to live in this world forever, according to the Orachaim. Because we lived here permanently, that not be a privilege, but a disgrace and degradation, because the ultimate reward and the ultimate closeness to Hashem is in the upper world. So if we remain in this world forever, we couldn't get there. So what are we saying? We're saying something else. That if we hadn't committed that sin, and there had been no Yetzer Hara, we would be able to ascend in the living form to the next world. And if we want to come back down to this world, we could come back down to this world. And we would be um, able to do that. Now, the Jewish people at that time, as I've explained in previous to our Torah, from Mount Har Sinai, time of Har Sinai, they were giving a Torah where he committed the sin of the Egel Zahav. Now, having said all that, he then goes on to say, how can we do that now? Obviously, we don't have the ability to go from place to place. Primary examples, Elio and Avi can go interchange between the two worlds. But what can he attain? What he can obtain in this world is learning Torah at such a high level. He will experience death merely as a person going from place to place, no discomfort, like taking a walk from one place to the other. And in fact, he say the righteous, and he says, goes on to say, it does not feel the pain of separation. It's sweet and pleasant for him, and he can transfer, if we learn Torah, from being a physical being, over his physical being, not experienced death at all. We say Eliyahu Hanavi experienced that through his Torah studies. He did not die. He rose to heaven, and Ramban explains this also, this concept beyond the Yorachaim alone. And may we merit two things. May we merit the closeness to Hashem that we get in this generation. May we all elevate ourselves with Torah and mitzvahs. And may we see the redemption speedily. And may we get through the current challenges speedily. Good Shabbos and Shabbat Shalom.